do want to say as well on this that, you know, while everybody, you know, has their, every customer of JD Edwards has their, you know, good stuff and their bad stuff and everything like that. If you talk to like Granite Construction, they live and die in this application.
This is where you should be.
They have got 20 different column versions that they use, showing everything. And this is, you know, this is not an area, once you've gone through the process to really think out how should all of my PMs, everybody who has access to JSI, how should they be looking at their jobs? What are all those different configurations? You build this out and set this up. You should not be running into ceilings on what you can do in this. It's one of the most powerful applications in the system.
So
Does it matter if there's cost in here?
no, it's all good. So first thing, do me one other favor too. Let's just get some more real estate. So if you'll click on that little gizmo right there, let's just okay. So now, the first thing we're going to do is create a new set of columns, right? So go up to the columns and just clear all that out. Just clear every one of those. You can just delete tab should be able to work. And you're just going to see columns are disappearing. And we actually even have some more, so go to more columns and get rid of those two. All right, so now let's go back to, so now go back to the column. So now we're down to, this is the base with no information shown, right? So now, what do you want this new column set to be? Right, and again, even if you don't know what the actual one, let's just make up a new set, right? So let's figure out what you want column 1 to be, right?
This actually seems easier than rearranging columns.
And then what do you want column 2 to be? Correct.
Just to ask that question that Fred prompted in my mind, if I were to rearrange columns on the grid, could I snap a view from that, or?
You can save it.
Well, what do you mean snap a view?
Well, I mean, if I'm doing it, instead of being in the tab here, could I do it on the grid and then
save that as
view?
a set?
Yeah, no.
No, that's, you do
Not
it this
with,
way.
Not with these, not with these specific columns.
Right, you could save it as a custom grid, right? So
Okay, but that would only be on my machine.
that's only on your machine, that's right.
Your user ID.
And your user ID, right, that's a better way
Fair.
to say it, correct. But we'll cover that too, we'll go through that too.
I mean, what we're doing here is going to be something that we could create templates for everyone to see, right?
Correct.
And,
Okay.
Yes.
and you can do that with the grids too. So
Yeah.
this drives, so these, I just want to step back a little bit and talk about the difference between your grid and your columns. Your columns version is not how they lay out on the grid. This is talking about what types of calculated special job cost columns you're putting into, you want to be able to view here, and you're limited to 10 of those.
No,
Or,
20, I think.
Yeah,
You can go to
oh, it goes to more
More
columns, sorry, it
columns,
goes to more
correct.
difference
columns.
between.
So anyway, but you've got a certain set that but then you've got all those other fields that are on the grid besides these columns. There's
Right,
more
like these
fields.
columns, right?
And so,
If he's ready.
so if you have additional columns on the grid that either you don't use, or you want them to show up in a different order, or you want these to show up, well, you can go in and rearrange these, but let's say for me, yeah, these are all the columns I want, but I just want them in a different order. You don't need to go in and necessarily do a different column version for that. In that case, you
That
can
you can do the
rearrange
grid.
them on the grid. It, by default, it's only for your user ID. However, those can be pushed out to roles. You can
So
push
we
those out
may-
to
we
roles,
may
or you
wanna
can push
know how
those
to
out
do
to
that,
everybody.
I think.
Oh, sure.
Yes.
Well, you should all users of Edwards should know how to create customized grids.
Yeah.
It just, on this particular application, it just works a little differently and can get a little screwy because there might be one or two others, but all the rest of the applications don't have this kind of functionality where you're literally deciding between
What calculations?
what do you
it's gonna
want,
go,
right?
Yeah.
All the
Yeah.
rest of them are, here's the grid, what do you want to show, what do you want to hide, what do you, or do you want to sequence in, do you want colors, all that kind of stuff. Right?
Okay.
So this one you have kind of two ways, so you have to make sure they're kind of working in conjunction with
Yeah.
each other. Anything else?
Well, for the time being. this
Okay,
is-
so now go to form
Someone here?
Mhm.
Someone sitting?
No, you.
and go save columns,
Right.
give it a name.
The original, call it C.
Call it C if you want, or
Go
call it
for it.
temp or whatever, right? Or just call it temp, just back it off and
You
call it.
don't need to have it called JAWS.
Yeah, just call
Yeah.
it temp,
Yeah.
just so you know this is garbage, right? Just,
Yeah.
just call it temp. And then click the check mark. There, you just created a column set, right? If you go back to display and come in here, pick a different one, it's all gonna change. Right? Pick a different column
Right,
set.
So we have those other ones.
Right,
So just changing the name
Defaults to the
saves
job
it?
class B.
that,
Oh,
what
leave
we just,
from what's
just
in
by
the
doing that
last
save and giving it a new name, you saved the current set
Where did you hit save?
under the form.
Oh, okay, form
Yeah.
save, okay.
Yeah, so you're in here right now, which is why. I
So,
put it-
so Linda, did you do the LL
Yes.
budget?
Yeah, that
So-
was
so
mine.
you figured this one out.
Yeah.
And what's cost R?
I don't know, let's take a look. Just double click.
Road,
Road,
Oh, probably, huh?
yeah,
That's
building and
B-
road.
right, B.
Okay.
No, probably makes
Got
sense.
it.
But so that's what there is to defining a column set or version,
Okay.
right? So that's the
Right,
first
so-
part.
So we internally
So-
have to decide what our project managers.
What is it that you want them to see?
them to be,
Yeah, yeah.
with just a click of a, what
Yeah.
we just did there. Click
Yeah.
of a button.
Right.
Right? Okay. The second question you had was, what if the columns you
Calculation.
want aren't on that
Aren't
list,
there.
right? They're on that list that we looked at. So let's go to columns. So we're still in our temp thing, and let's come in here, and as if you were gonna go look for a column,
Yeah.
and you go, it's not there. So now use the form exit and define columns.
Hmm.
So like you look for it, and you go, it's not there. Now, I don't know who has access to this, or who doesn't have access, right? I'm just talking about what.
apparently Aaron
Well, I
does.
guess
Right. That's cool.
Let's see.
And so the first thing I'm gonna have you do is hit find, because I'm gonna show you how this works, because it's not intuitive.
Yeah.
All right, it takes a little bit. So we'll start real basic. So double click on AA. I'm just gonna show you how,
Double click on it?
yeah, which is the same as clicking and then hitting a check mark, right?
Okay.
So what we've done is, this is one that already exists, right? So this column, AA, which is called actual amount, the formula for calculating that column is 1. Well, that doesn't make any sense. What's 1? Come down to your little matrix down here, and 1 is actual values amount. So it's the actual value from the amount ledger, that's the AA
So
ledger.
it's algebra with numbers
Right?
instead of
Okay.
letters.
Cancel that, and we'll go look at something else, right?
Check.
No, it doesn't matter, because you're not redefining it, but, so let's look at actual cost per unit. Let's go double click on that one. Okay, so this is now 1 divided by 41. So that is the actual amount divided by the header units. Header being cost code header. So you're posting field quantities at a cost code header amount. And it's taking the actual dollars that are posted to an account and dividing that by what's represented by 41, which is the quantity posted to the header of that account's cost code header. You follow it?
Yes.
So that's how you create a calculation. So same thing. If you can think of off the top
Where
of
do you
your
know
head,
41 is defined?
right here, you have to look it down. So 1, what does 1 mean?
You have
You
to
look down
map
in the
it.
matrix, you go 1. 1 is an amount from the actual values.
From the detail amount. It's a detail.
On this individual account,
Yeah, okay.
right? 41 represents the actual value from the header account units ledger. So it's like a matrix of stuff, right? So this account's header, which is the cost code header. So we'll go back and look at this. We can look.
So
show
the
this on
header
JSI.
amount is account business unit dot
Nothing.
dot
Cost code.
Cost code.
That's the header.
No object code.
No object code. That's the cost code header.
Okay.
The units that have been posted to that account divided into the dollars posted to the account we're looking at.
Okay.
Follow it?
I do.
I get it. It's, again, like I said, it's not intuitive. It's a weird kind of cryptic way they've done this, but it becomes very useful, right? And so then there's all these, as we look in here, and you're going to go try and define, you can use parentheses, plus, minus, divide, all that kind of stuff, right? And you can use original budget values, revised, so that's the current, right, budget. Open commitments, so that's stuff coming off your PA ledger. So all these are the things you can look at. So projected final is the HA ledger. Add-on budget, I don't know. I'd have to look at a few of these, maybe I don't know. And production quantity, I don't know how that's any different. I have to look at what that does, I'm not sure. Right? So when you want to create a new column that doesn't exist, so let's cancel, let's go create a new column. So we're going to add a new column, and you start with a blank sheet, right? And so give it a name, again, let's call it temp. And, just call it junk, whatever. Any junk name you want, doesn't matter. And so this is the description. That's what you're going to see when you inquire on what column you want to put in there. You see a description. Heading 1, heading 2 is what shows at the top of JSI. So at the top of a JSI column, there's 2 rows of heading. So this is what do you want to have display in the JSI.
So I assume the asterisk mean those are.
Yeah, it has to
required
have at
fields.
least one, right? The
Right, those are
asterisks are
required.
required fields, right? That's again throughout Edwards, you'll see that. So then the formula. So I don't know, what do we want? But we'll define percent complete. We'll just pretend. I don't know, unless there's something that you know of that somebody
Phil,
wants.
when you did your P&L thing yesterday, was there a calculation that we didn't have before that you can think of off the top of your head?
There were a lot of them. No, off the top of my head, no.
This is a pressure situation. We have to
You're on the
come up
spot.
with
This is your chance. This is
I'm
your
running
chance.
out of film
Make it
here.
up.
Yeah,
This
that's
is
right.
your chance.
You can
So-
hit pause and restart.
Well, let's do the total contract value divided by final value, which would be, what would that be? Like, that would be a variance, wouldn't it?
Or let's do budget divided by, or budget minus that, right? Or say,
Right.
and which way do we want positives to be, good or bad? So if I do projected final minus revised budget and I'm positive, that means I'm projected to be over. So usually in my head, I would do it the other way around. I'd take revised budget minus forecast, minus my
Mhm.
projection.
Mhm.
That way negative is bad. Again, I know
Right.
negatives are revenue and that's good, but
Right, right.
so let's
we
pretend
project-
we want this to be our revised budget minus our projected final.
So 3,
Yep.
three's not coming out there. Maybe not.
There we go.
3 minus,
Yep.
what were we trying to do? Revised?
I would
5?
do projected
Projected.
final.
Projected final.
8.
So is it 8?
Yeah. And that's the formula, right?
Yeah.
3 minus 8. Again, that makes no sense, except you have to look at what does 3 represent, what does 8 represent. And then say, okay. And now, if you want so remember I said the first description, when you're creating a new column, there's a long description and then there was row 1, row 2.
Mhm.
This is the long description you see when you're choosing what column you want. So you can go ahead and close out of this. We'll go back to the JSI. And I'm not sure which field we are in, so I'm going to ask you, cancel out of this. So, okay, right here, you're going to look up your temp, right? You're going to find your temp. And that'll add it in there and see it's doing calculations and whatever that one is, this billing account. Maybe, and let's go ahead and add, just right in here, do RBA, which I think should be revised budget. B, sorry.
No, RB.
RBA.
RB?
Yeah,
Sorry.
not B, yeah.
Like the sandwich.
I think that's, yeah. So do that one. just so we can see what it is. And then here in column 7, I think it's EAC, estimated completion. Tab out of that. And then do a find. You have to refresh the grid for it to actually populate. And so that's, you can just to validate the calculations.
Mhm.
Yeah, no idea whether the data's right and all that kind
Well,
of stuff.
Right, this is a job that doesn't have this is the summary tab. You know, if we went, let's go back to.
Well,
Let's go to some bank.
Okay, before you go anywhere,
Mhm.
go to form,
Mhm.
no, and save columns. And then just hit OK. Let's save that as part of your temp. And now I think I'll be
It
able to
would,
sit
if
down.
you don't save it, it will put it as your user ID, so if you then go in and blank out.
I don't know what that's about.
If you forget to save and you
Come
go
over-
out,
come over
it'll
here to
save it
display.
to your user ID, so when you go in again, if you blank out the column version, it'll put whatever you last used.
So were you gonna go try and inquire on a different job?
Yeah, what was the concrete ending one, 2-0?
oh, the group, yeah, dude, that's, I think that's
2-0.
right.
2004520.
And now do an inquiry. Not, yeah, there you go. Let's go to additional selections and see if we're narrowed down. No? So why aren't we getting anything? Is it a date thing maybe?
Concrete area 20, Bill,
That's the maintenance facility.
on the depot.
That's the
Yeah,
lump
it's
sum
that
for
one.
maintenance,
Yeah.
2004520.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the right one?
Mhm.
Should be.
004520. Is it a business unit security thing or anything like that?
No.
If you go back to your,
It's not the date, the date's okay.
Let's
go
just
back
go.
to your other column.
Let's just go through, let's just work our way through the tabs and see if there's anything that's narrowing down. I mean, why don't you first, for the time being, get rid of this, oh no, that's correct, we wanna see that. This is wide open, go to project, there shouldn't be anything there. I'm assuming that job is part of company 1, right? Cause
Yeah.
that just defaults in. Go to options, there's nothing there. Columns, that's just our columns, we didn't, there's nothing there, that's fine, cause these are all gonna be great, cause we put a specific job in. Alright, so let's just exit and come back in.
Yeah.
There's something,
That's what I think.
something's not. So put that job in and then put your temp in column version. And just as just kind of random for what it's worth, and everybody's got their different
There you go.
things. Yeah, everything just for what it's worth. I want to just show you one. Just anytime you're selecting, so like in here when you were in here and you hit the lookup and you went down and you found temp and you clicked it and then you went up and clicked the check mark. Just double clicking right there does the same thing. Just for what it's
You
worth.
double click in the field.
If it's a selection thing
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that, you just double click there. That's the same as checking it and then checking the checkbox.
Okay.
So anyway, we can look and see if
Okay.
the calculations are right. So we've got, we need to probably slide out just a little bit because we've got our estimate of completion, but see, so, right, we got a negative variance here because our forecast is over. So that's the concept of how you can, and again, I know you videotaped it, so you may or may not remember it, but you can go back to the videotape. Or again, managed service can help you out. That's an easy thing to write up. Those are easy things to do. You have to figure out what you want,
What we want, right.
right?
You gave a very clear explanation of it. I had somebody else give me an explanation once. It wasn't that clear.
Okay,
That's good.
great,
That was very good.
good.
So-
Crazy powerful tool.
Yep.
Right?
Mhm.
So since we're on it, because it is one of my again, I think we have time. I'm hopefully it is one of my favorite tools of all time. And so now the thing is, so we're on this production. So the thing that's weird to me, and I would have said that this wasn't going to work. So the reason I don't like doing customized grids on JSI is because we've added a column that didn't exist before. and I don't know how it's gonna handle that stuff. Maybe what happens though is, so just click on the customize grid for me for a second. On this application, and let's just do modify. We're not actually gonna change it, but I just wanna see. See, it actually still puts them in there, okay.
It does.
I was thinking maybe it only dealt with the columns that were the native columns and not these predefined ones, so, but you could just.
When we saved it with that grid name.
But it was so.
It's completely separate stuff.
I
But
know.
they are
But if we
designed
had
to work
s-
together. The
Yeah.
caveat is never use the. You don't want to copy custom grids here.
Right.
You want to use your column versions.
I would
to
start with
define
show
those.
all columns first.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
Before I build my,
Right.
you know,
Yes.
job
Right.
copy.
And
Because,
that's the
again, think
there's
about-
just specific recommendations on how to work with them.
Yeah.
They do work together, but there's just some specific
Yeah.
caveats to
We'll edit
working
that
with
into
them.
the beginning of your.
There you go. I love it. Well, just because, again, you can imagine, right, here's the available columns, and what you're doing with the other tool within JSI, you're changing what the available columns are. And maybe it's gotten really smart, and Oracle's got a good thing here, and they know how to keep track of all this stuff now. But anyhow, just scroll down here to the bottom and hit cancel. But so we'll go back to your question. Yes, now that I have like this set of columns that JSI is going to display, if you want it displayed differently, but you want the same set,
That would be a grid.
you could do a grid, right?
All right.
The other thing from
So
here.
even though we're in column version 10, right, we're in column version temp over
Oh,
here,
temp, yeah, yes.
Temp, yeah.
So what, and it's showing all columns, so this is what we built. This is what we
Right.
just built.
What
with
this,
that.
what column version defines is what's between this column and the UM column.
It's like column version is the set, and grid is the subset.
It's kind of a layout
the
kind of
set.
thing.
What
Yeah,
I got
grid is
confused
just your
'cause
layout.
We named our new column temp also, so it's
Right,
confusing.
Oh, yeah.
It's confusing.
Yeah, but this is the set,
Right.
Right.
that's the column.
That's the column.
Right, and again, you would probably, here, I would have,
We would've
knowing
named
where
it
we were gonna end up, I would have called that budget variance or
Variance,
something like
yeah.
that, right?
Make it something different.
Right, and you can go back in there and do that, if you wanted to. Let's do it. So go to columns. Go look for a column, because that's how you get to the define. Go to form, right, go to define, and then we're gonna find temp and we'll rename it. Now what I'm not sure about is if I think it'll be smart enough. So go to temp. And so another little gizmo. Anytime you're typing in the QBE line,
Mhm.
instead of grabbing the mouse and going up and click and find, you can just hit enter and it'll load the grid. Just a little time saver. Double click on that and you can rename it right there.
So, but this is, okay.
Say budget variance or just variance or forecast variance or whatever. I don't know whatever terminology makes sense here.
And then change column heading.
Yep.
Change what?
Column heading, the first one make it budget, second one make it
Yeah,
var.
These two, right? Like I'd maybe say budget
No,
variance.
down, yeah,
Like budget here, variance there.
yeah.
And in the second
Tab,
one,
yeah.
all good.
So you're saying I could have double clicked there and it would be fine?
Not now, I mean,
there.
not on
No,
the
no,
data
no.
entry screen, right? And now refind here, and so it will have changed this. And so now you exit, we're gonna exit back out, exit again. And now we're gonna refresh this. And
Boom.
it changed it there.
Very good.
Okay. The code is still temp. The name, now you could change that too.
Yeah.
You can't. Now that it's defined, you can. If you really wanted, you would delete that column and create a new BVAR or something
Right,
like that,
yeah.
right? And then it's in the set. And then this can all be exported, right? You got the little up arrow over there, so you could export it to Excel if you wanted.
That's what we've been doing.
Yeah.
And then
And
doing
then
the calculation.
adding
that you
columns
want.
to
So,
create
yeah.
calculations. So find out what those calculation columns are,
Yeah.
define them.
Get all those spreadsheets.
Right.
and put
Create
it in here.
new columns and then
Yeah.
put them into sets
Yep.
that you can use. And then this is also a reporting tool, which you may or may not care about, right? You can just click on that button, that report button, and do print, and it becomes a PDF if you want to send it to somebody or something like that.
Oh, really?
Yep, do it. Oop. Oh well, except you can't. So-
Right.
Greg, we don't use that, do we?
Yeah, I
That
don't think-
report feature?
And
I did
it's an
see-
inquiry screen, and
Where'd you do it from?
just right
Here.
here. I mean,
Yeah.
so there are times. So again,
And it's just,
yeah, it's
I'm
just
not even, I never even tried it.
Oh, really? Oh, I
I
thought
don't-
you
I don't
told me
know.
once that we weren't using it.
Yes, sir.
so-
Yeah.
It's one of the other